Some people value brutal honesty and some people value tactfulness. But as a salesperson, it's our job to be as effective as we can. This means that some situations will work better with brutal honesty and some situations will work better with tactfulness. So in this video, I want to dive into the actual technicalities of both energies. And I want to show you how to use these energies in the right way, in the right situation. Now, first of all, if you are faced with a prospect and a situation that the prospect kind of wants something to be true, he's kind of wishing for the positive dream. But if that's not the reality, then this is where the situation occurs, right? Because we want to be truthful to the prospect. And if the prospect has a dream, has a false belief that makes him feel good, but we know it's not getting him to his goals, it's our job as influencers and as salespeople to correct him with the truth, especially if his truth is damaging to himself and to his progress. So as a salesperson, it can be difficult to just do that, which is why as you're beginning as a salesperson, I would just recommend to get the truth out there, especially if you feel like it's necessary. It's better to just throw the truth out there than to tailor or pander to his, you don't want to keep a false dream alive. That is why you need the truth. And that is why also a lot of people will kind of like value this like brutal honesty. But I think brutal honesty is just a phase and you don't want to overvalue this. Because the truth is it does take some force and some labor to get things out there. But once you can do that, you want to work with the truth in a more sincere way, in a more genuine, tactful way. And it is my belief that if you want to become an elite salesperson, you will need to learn to develop tactfulness, right? Because it doesn't matter how harsh you can be or like how much confidence you can have and how confident you feel in putting the truth out there. It does matter, but like at the end of the day, what matters is the prospect accepting what you're putting out. Because if the prospect doesn't accept what you're putting out, you haven't created change. And that's the goal as salespeople, as influencers, as communicators. We want to create change, right? Positive change, because that's what your product or service is supposed to do. That's what the reason is for buying. So it doesn't really matter if you can say the truth, if you say it in a way that the prospect doesn't accept it. That's why you need to develop tactfulness. And both brutal honesty and tactfulness, in my opinion, require honesty. It's just that tactfulness is softer and it's more calibrated. So like you're working more with the beliefs and the feelings of the prospect to make sure that not only you're telling him the truth, but you're telling him the truth in a way that he accepts it, right? So that's why this is important. Now, there's another thing about brutal honesty. Some situations will still require harshness. Like even if you can be tactful, some situations will still require harshness. But those are rare exceptions. Those are people like when you are speaking to them and you're being tactful, but they're not kind of getting it. In that case, you will need to be harsher. And this really depends on the person and the situation. Like the more false belief that people have, typically, sometimes you will need to be harsh to create like immediate change. But again, I think that is over romanticized in sales. Like we want to be like hard closers and get people over the line and have like urgency. But the truth is, those are skills that you need to develop to become an intermediate salesperson. But if you want to be expert, you'll need to learn to develop all the nuances. And that is why tactfulness, in my opinion, is much more important than brutal honesty. However, you need to develop brutal honesty first before you can develop tactfulness. That is my opinion, because if you don't learn to get the truth out of there first of all, it doesn't matter how, because then tactfulness will take the form of pandering to the dreams, and you don't want to do that. You need to be comfortable with putting the honest, brutal truth out there, but then you calibrate, then you make it softer, then you work with its beliefs. And that's really the skill of sales, in my opinion. So I hope that this video was useful for you. Check out my next video if you want. Feel free to share your ideas and comments. Love to hear from you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.